Welcome back to Basics and Beyond the podcast. Today, in episode 31, we are going to discuss an often overlooked piece of our overall health, and that's our mental health. One aspect in particular today we're going to talk about is social media and its impacts, whether positive or negative, on our daily lives and how that connects to our physical health and the goals that we have in that area. Welcome. It's good to have you here. Come on in. Welcome back to Basics and Beyond the podcast. I am so excited to be here with you today, episode 31. And today we are going to talk about something I don't think that we think about often enough. We talk so much about nutrition and macros and meal templates and your steps and your movement and your sleep and the things and all those things. And sometimes we forget about one of the most important parts to our health puzzle, and that is our mental health. Mental health is a big issue. We know this. What we don't do is we don't break it down and we don't dig in to it enough. It is this giant idea that we don't look into deeply and think about in terms of our physical health, our physiological health, and how connected that is to our mental health. Now, like I said, mental health is a giant subject. Honest to goodness, we could probably talk about that for hours and hours and days and weeks and months on end, right? Like it just every topic under the sun. So we're going to narrow it down today. Today, we're going to talk about social media and the detriment to our health that is social media. Now, I'm going to say that and say this at the same time. Social media can be a good thing. I'm not saying don't do social media. I'm not like going to come on here and bash social media because there are wonderful aspects to social media. It is a wonderful place to connect with your friends and your family. And it gives us that wonderful, I just love it when, like it'll pop up on Facebook, like you have memories with, and I just love going through my memories. And every once in a while, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to save that picture because I actually don't have that picture, things like that. It's a great reminder, sometimes for us to reach out to people. It's also a great space to learn things, right? Social media is a great space to learn things. It's a great space to meet other people who have similar interests than you. Social media can also be a space that we can get locked into, we can become addicted to, we can get sucked into the drama of social media. And here's what we all know. And if you don't know this, I'm going to let you in on this big secret. The people who created social media created it because they want to make money, right? They make money by people coming to the sites, by people paying for advertisement. They get money from various different companies because what they want is they want eyes on their stuff. And when you look at certain things on social media, the algorithms around social media, and every single platform is like this, grabs all that information about you, takes that data, puts it all together faster than you can blink an eye, and it starts to feed you what you want to see. So now we end up in this giant vacuum. An echo chamber is actually a better word for it. You've heard that. We're in this giant echo chamber of ideas and thoughts and opinions that just feed back to us what we want to hear and see, which can feel good. I mean, we want social media to make us feel good. That's part of it. But what it also does is it allows us to get trapped in what can be detrimental patterns of thought. Okay. So, and not only that, there are things on social, and this, there are things on various social media platforms that make you feel a certain way. And if you haven't watched the documentary, now I can't think of the name of it. I love documentaries, by the way. If you don't know that about me, you need to know that about me. I love documentaries.
And so I can't remember the name of the documentary, but it is about Facebook and how they created Facebook. And even just something simple as that little like button, your little thumbs up like button, their thought behind it was a great thought. And it was steeped in a sense of wanting, like truly wanting people to feel good. And it turned into something that became mentally detrimental to a lot of people, because people started to chase likes and they started to chase the hearts and I mean, you post something on social media, you want people to hit the like button. And when they don't, you're like, why aren't you hitting the like button? Why don't you like me? Why don't you see? It's not about why don't you like what I posted. It becomes, why don't you like me? Social media can affect our physical health, because how many times do we say this? You can't disconnect your brain, your emotions, your logic, your reality, everything that your brain is and does. You can't disconnect that from your body, right? I mean, you would die. Your brain runs the rest of your body. And thus, that means that that emotional part of your brain, that part of your brain that is looking for connection, it's looking for relationships, it's looking for validity, it's looking for people to show you that you have value. That part of your brain, those areas of your brain, are still connected to your physiology. I mean, think about it. If you think about how your body feels when you are anxious, right? Where do you feel that? Where do you feel your anxiety? Right in your gut. In your gut. That's where you feel it. It's a feeling, it's an emotion. Where do you feel it in your body? We need to make those connections from our feelings and what we're seeing and what we're hearing and how it's making us feel. And we need to make that connection from the brain, the feelings, what we're seeing, into our body. And how, where, and why are you feeling this, right? Where are you feeling that in your body? Because that will remind you that everything you take in has an impact on your physiology, on your physical body, not just the food that you intake, right? Because we know that, right? Not just, the environment in which you live, right? Like if you live somewhere, if the if you're in a space where there's what's fires, right? Like forest fires, right? They say, they'll put on the news or whatever, hey, it's dangerous to go outside, dangerous to breathe the air, because that's an environmental toxin, right? That can come in and make you feel bad, makes you feel bad. Another thing that we ingest is things that we see on social media, things that you hear on social media, whether you hear them through your eyes by reading it or you hear them through your ears by listening. That's an interesting thing. I actually don't listen to social media when I'm on it. My phone is always on silent, but those are things that we take into our body, whether it's through our eyes or our ears, that also impact our physical health. So we can't forget that and we can't ignore it. It's really, really important. So, yes, we can also see things that make us feel good. We can also hear things on social media that make us feel good. And knowing those two pieces, right? You have the like, we can go with, the angel and the devil of social media. That means that we need to be really, really cognizant of what we are taking in when we are on social media. And this is important not only for you and me as adults, but also if you have littles at home, what are they taking in on social media? I mean, I was fortunate, and I'm going to say it, it's the truth. I was fortunate not to have grown up. I had enough issues with body image and all those kinds of things when I was growing up. I can't imagine what it would have been like for me to have social media, right? So we have to be very, very cognizant for our health overall, physical and mental, about what we're ingesting, what we're seeing, and what we're hearing on social media. So great, Laura. That's awesome. I'm glad you're talking to us about this. It's like, yeah, okay, but let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. What really are we talking about? How can social media affect our health? Well, we talked about it a little bit already. Um, Social media, the things that you see on social media can increase your feelings of anxiety. It can also increase your feelings of depression because when we're looking at social media, there is always this. I mean, we're humans, right? We compare ourselves to others. We look at those things on social media and we say, is that how I look? Is that how I sound? Can I look that way? Would that shirt look great on me? I love those shoes. Would those shoes look good on me? Right. What happens though is we forget that most of the things on social media are highly curated. What does that mean? Well, that means that those people who look so great and they're ripped and that you can see all their muscles and they're standing and they have this teeny tiny waist and these big shoulders or a big butt or whatever the heck it is, like, you can stand in a certain way and make that happen. Get a good camera angle, use lighting appropriately. Maybe they were in a caloric deficit to be able to create those photos or those videos. That's not how they look all day every day, right? When people put things on social media, most of the time, now I don't, which is funny. It's just me for reals on social media. But people curate those things so that they look better, so that they're doing, like, you see the perfect person in the perfect life doing the perfect things. Those images, that constant comparison to others, can absolutely make you feel inadequate. It make you feel depressed. It can show up in low self-esteem. There was a study in 2018 in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology, and even in 2018, they linked high social media use to increased symptoms of anxiety and depression. And they checked it out in young adults. They aren't even looking at adults like you and me. They're looking at those younger people and noticing that this is causing that issue. And we've talked about that. I mean, you hear it everywhere. It's just a reminder. How else can it affect you? Well, it can disrupt your sleep. I know. I just had a client tell me that she's going to bed on time. I'm going to bed on time, and I'm like, that's great. And I'm reading her check-in. I'm going to bed on time, and then I sit there and scroll for an hour. Like, oh, okay. So guess what? We go back to the blue light exposure from your phone, your iPad, when you're laying in bed. It actually delays your body's production of melatonin. You need melatonin to fall asleep and to stay asleep. So what happens then is that lovely circadian rhythm that tells us when to wake up and when to go to sleep gets all messed up. When you are scrolling, let's just call it what it is. When you're doom scrolling, just constantly, like not even paying attention, but you're paying attention, doom scrolling, or just kind of late at night, right? Looking at stuff, you are increasing your brain's work capacity. Like, you actually have to focus and think. You're actually engaging in what you're seeing. So what does that do? That increases your mental stimulation, and it's hard to wind down and go to sleep. That time before bed, like an hour, I mean, just minimum an hour before bed, you need to be winding down. And that means winding your brain down too, so that you can sleep. Phones don't help, right? Social media certainly doesn't help. Gets you thinking, gets you agitated, maybe, whatever. Like we said too, those phones cause, and it causes addictive behavior. Part of that addictive behavior you can see because you're scrolling before you go to bed, right? But also, like we talked about, social media is designed to keep you looking at it. It's designed to make you addicted to it. They have created social media so that you continue to look at it. And how does that work? Well, it's in your brain. Remember dopamine? We've talked about dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine is kind of that dopamine is that neurotransmitter that tells you to, like, shop and do fun things and jump out of airplanes. All the exciting things. Social media activates your dopamine. Things come at you really fast, right? You get a lot of rewards. Things come at you really fast, especially like those 7-second reels. Bang, 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 right? That gets you highly addicted to the next hit of dopamine. And habitually checking your social media it creates dependency. right? It creates the addiction. I mean, how difficult is it for you to not have your phone with you? How difficult is it for you when there's some downtime? Maybe there's a commercial on TV, or maybe you're just hanging out and there's not much going on. How difficult is it for you to not pick up your phone and jump onto social media, right? You almost kind of get jittery, right? Like you get these withdrawals. Ah, that's addiction. That's addiction. When we think about social media, how else can it not serve us, particularly our mental health? And I talked about it with myself, that poor body image. It can create circumstances where, like I said, we're comparing ourselves to other people. We don't know them. We don't know the situation around this picture we're looking at and all of those things. And what it does is it gives us this sense that we have to look a certain way and everybody looks this way. We get this very unrealistic standard of what it means to look good and be beautiful, right? Because they're using all the filters and they're, cinching in their waist and pushing out their hips, right? And when we see that and we aren't that, that can lead to body dysmorphia, low self-esteem. It can transition into disordered eating behaviors. It's really, really important that we really pay attention to what we're looking at and what we're reading about how these, like all those fitness influencers, they're like, don't eat meat, eat only meat, don't eat carbs, eat only carbs. I mean, all the craziness out there. We have to be very, very diligent in, like I said, making sure that we're not, I should say, not that we're not, that we're filtering through those things in a very like cognitively aware way. Pay attention. Speaking of paying attention, we just talked about how quickly those videos, those reels come at you, right? How fast. It's literally, I think 7 seconds is probably the max based on research that a person will stay on a reel. So the objective is to create like a 3 to 5 second video that is highly engaging and gets people to want to continue to look at videos. What does that do to our attention span? Think ADHD, right? ADHD is the big thing. Everybody's got ADHD now. Well, you're not helping yourself to create a longer attention span and be focused by looking at 3 to 5 second reels. Constantly scrolling all of that super fast paced content makes it more difficult for you to focus and be productive when you need to. Honestly, studies have found that people who use social media a lot have lower academic performance. And as adults, right, your work performance suffers because we're training our brain to not focus for long periods of time. That's difficult. That makes life a lot more difficult. What else can happen? What are the other factors involved? Like how else is social media detrimental to us? Well, it can help us feel like we're missing out on things, right? Because all these people are doing all these super fun things every day, all day, they're doing fun things. Well, that's not necessarily true. People always put like their best self out on social media and the most fun things that they've been doing. When you're sitting on your phone, you're not moving a lot. So you're reducing your physical activity. That can definitely impair how you feel. It can inhibit your growth towards a healthier lifestyle because you're sitting all the time, right? Also, one of the big factors, and this is the piece that people talk about all the time, the cyberbullying, the emotional trauma, because it's very easy for people nowadays to be a keyboard warrior, right? It's easy to type something out when you don't have to say the actual words to someone's face. And that is the thing that people focus on the most. So I'm going to focus on that the least, right? Because we know what that can do. We know what that can do. And I think as adults, we need to be hyper aware of what we're doing on social media so that we can hopefully like stem the tide of our younger generations from doing that same thing. Because it's a terrible thing. But, and yes, that is emotionally unhealthy. That is mentally unhealthy, which leads to a lack of physical well-being, makes us unhealthy overall. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about all the other ways that we are unhealthy when we don't pay attention to how we're using social media, how often we're using social media. It can inhibit our physical health, our physiology in so many different ways. It is important for us to pay attention to how much of it we are ingesting. Because if we are constantly engaging with social media, we are seeing things that are not necessarily reality, and we are not making connections in real life with real people in real ways. And that is where we are going to find most of our mental health, is creating good, strong connections with people we love, with people who can fill us up, with making having a purpose in life, helping other people, and having that connection, being in the same room as someone else. Making those connections can obviously make us healthier. Social media can't do that. Is there a place for social media? Like I said at the beginning, absolutely. It is not all evil. There are ways that we can use social media that can help us. We can find information, we can learn things. It is a way for us to connect with people who are not, living in the same area we're living in. I appreciate that. But just like everything else, just like the food that we eat, that we choose to eat, just like the exercise that we choose to do, just like, um, you know, everything else that we do in our life to be healthy, or the choices we make that are not healthy, we have those choices, and we need to be cognizant of those choices. And social media is a choice. And like I said, just like everything else, that we're working on progress, not perfection. It's not 100%. It's not all or nothing, but we do have to create that awareness. And that is where I live as a coach, and where I live as a person, is we all need to create that awareness with ourselves and connect back with ourselves to make sure that what we are ingesting, whether it's food, whether it's our environment, like toxins, breathing, whether it's hearing things, whether it's how we're moving through the world, what we're doing for strength or what we're doing for movement, and what we are allowing, what we are paying attention to, what we are allowing into our brain, all of those things have an impact on us physically and emotionally. And we need to be highly aware of how that affects us, because we know stress is the number one cause of all illness. Stress on the body. So today, hopefully you come away from this podcast with a little better idea of how those pages, those sites really do have an impact on your health. And hopefully you walk away and just have a little bit more awareness. That's all I'm here for, is to help us be more aware of what we do, what we say, what we ingest, how we move through the world, and how that impacts our health as well as everyone else's health. So, thank you for joining me today. I know it's been a while. It's good to have you back. Please share the show with someone that you love, someone that you care about, someone that you think might find benefit. That's why I'm here. That's why I do the show. Like, subscribe, share. Do I sound like someone on social media? Anyway, if you have questions or want to dig in a little deeper on any subject that you are struggling with or that you are interested in, you can email me, you can message me. There's lots of ways to get a hold of me. I have a website, all of those things. Reach out. And if you have an idea for a podcast, or you want to come on the podcast, I'm always open to that. I want this podcast to be beneficial for you. As always, thank you for coming. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next show.